Welcome to a nurturing space here on your Heartlight. I am Kelley Rush, and each week we offer free yoga sessions and classes on meditation and things that'll help support you in feeling good in your life. Tonight we'll be practicing yoga for your feet. And some of the benefits of working on your feet, other than feeling really, really good, especially after a long day, is it helps to improve your balance. It can help strengthen your ankles, your toes, your calves. It can help you with supporting your knees, your hips, your low back, all the way on up. So many different benefits to really paying attention to the health of your feet. So for this practice, what we'll be wanting you to have is a blanket. I have mine folded up like this. You could use a towel. So it's just a blanket that I folded several different times. If you have a tennis ball or a tune-up ball, something equivalent to this shape and that is quite firm, and maybe a block or a book, and the last thing, a chair. So let's go ahead and meet each other standing up next to a chair. If you don't have a chair, you could certainly use a wall for this practice. Get creative with your tools. So once you arrive over on your mat, let's go ahead and take your towel or your blanket and put it somewhere towards the back side, maybe 2.5, 3 feet away from your chair. And then standing next to the chair, or if you're using the wall, standing next to a wall and resting your hand here. Let's take a few moments just to center. So taking a few breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. And just kind of orient yourself to the place that you're in. And then with your awareness, let's drop our focus immediately down to your feet. How do your feet feel as you're standing here? Feel the surface of the floor underneath you. And just notice the way that you tend to bear your weight on your feet. If you tend to come back on their heels or maybe towards your toes or stand towards one side, right or left. Just having that awareness. And through this practice, as I'm offering you different things to explore, they're just suggestions. If something doesn't feel right to you, please feel free to do something different or adjust until it feels better. And then let's go ahead and open our eyes, set a focal point out in front of you, and let's pick up one heel and then lower it, and then pick up another heel and lower it. Going back and forth several times. And you could have your feet close together, or you could have them farther apart, where you feel like your base is really steady. Just kind of feeling that stretch across the bottoms of your feet into the ball of your foot. And let's be real mindful of our posture too, pulling in through the center and up through the top of your head. Just kind of rocking back and forth, feeling those different sensations in your feet. And then let's take a look-see down at your feet. Can you lift your toes up and spread them? You could do this one foot at a time or both at the same time. Lift up your toes. Feel for spreading them apart, just like if you were to open your hand. Can you do that same kind of move with your feet? And then drop your big toe down and kind of rotate in a little bit. And then bring your other four toes down and lift your big toe up. So a little toe yoga here. Going back and forth. And this takes practice. So if you're finding this is really challenging, I'm finding this really challenging. It takes practice. So if you do this every day, a little bit every day, you'll really notice a big improvement over time. So going back and forth. I love to walk. So after a long walk, I love doing these little mini yoga practices. It really does help. And then go ahead and stand there for a moment. Just notice already that we've brought that awareness to our feet, how they feel. And then let's extend one foot forward and do some points and flexes, using the wall or the chair to steady you out. And on that standing leg, lift up. Try not to lock out the knee. Pointing and flexing your foot. And then some foot circles. All the way around. Noticing how that feels in your ankle. You might even feel this as you're engaging your leg to lift it up. Go around a few different times in circles. And then bringing the ball of the foot down, lift your heel. It's almost like you have a high heel shoe on. I'll kind of turn at this angle so you can see how I have my heel lifted up. And then bear some weight into the ball of the foot and take a few breaths. You can add a little bit of weight, a lot of weight, whatever feels good to your foot. And then press off of that and then lift your heel up. And let's rock back and forth towards the ball of the foot and then towards your heel. And taking long, smooth breaths. One more time. And as you come back to the heel, pick up that foot and just shake it off. Shake, shake, shake until you feel your whole leg kind of loosen up all the way down to your toes. And then stand with your feet under your hips and just notice, how does that feel? Can you feel different sensations now? I feel like this little effervescent sensation down in my foot already. And then let's come to the top of our foot up into our shin. So I'm going to adjust my chair. Coming back to the blanket or towel and pointing that same foot that we've been working with back. And so you get a gentle stretch on the top of your foot. You're welcome to lean forward more or come back more where it feels like it's a good stretch. If you're getting a foot cramp, you may need to just kind of pick up that foot and then bring it back down again. Just notice the sensations here as you're stretching out the top of your foot. Sometimes if you have bunions or if you have growths on your feet or just the shape of your foot, it can be uncomfortable. That's why I like using a blanket underneath there. It's a lot more gentle and supportive than bringing it down on the floor. Give yourself maybe one or two more breaths, feeling the different sensations coming up the top of your foot, maybe up into the shin and the ankle. And then letting it go. Stand back down onto both feet, feet under your hips, and just noticing now, what does that feel like? Your head comes back, strong posture pulling up from center. And then let's go ahead and go back to raising one heel at a time, lifting up and just kind of moving your legs. You could do this with both hands supported onto a surface as well. Could be a countertop, could be a wall, could be a chair. Just kind of feeling into that. One or two more times. And then the leg that we were just working with, lower onto that heel and we're going to balance our weight there. Send the opposite leg forward for some points and flexes. As you're bearing weight into the standing leg, press down without locking the knee and continue really focusing on your posture. And then foot circles all the way around, noticing how that feels in your ankle. Spreading your toes as you're circling and just kind of playing with this movement. And then bringing the ball of the foot down and then bearing weight forward and just kind of feeling some weight come into the ball of the foot as that heel pikes up. And then we'll rock back towards the heel and then forward towards the ball of the foot. Keep spreading your toes as you're going back and forth here a few times. Being real careful and mindful, especially if you have sensitive feet, not to overdo this. At any time you can pause, especially if you get into a feel-good spot that you didn't know existed down in your feet, or maybe even in your calves and your ankles too. And then picking it up, and let's shake it out. Shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake out the tension all the way up to your hip and your leg. Whew. And then standing with your feet under your hips. What does that feel like? Try not to lock the knees. Instead, press down through the four corners of your feet. So the outside of the heels, the big toe and the pinky side of the foot. And then lift your toes up. Spread your toes as wide apart. Just like if I were to open my hands, we're going to open our toes. And then let's turn around and use the chair, and we're going to stretch out the top of that ankle, shin, and foot. So bring it on some soft padding here, lifting up nice and tall. A little bit of a bend in both knees as you're stretching. You want to be real mindful. The top of the foot has a lot of connective tissues, not a lot of muscle or anything like that in there, so they tend to be way more sensitive. Enjoy a few more deep breaths, noticing sensation, less is more. And then standing with your feet underneath your hips, and let's just go ahead and go back to bending one knee and raising one heel at a time. Kind of walking in place here. Massaging those little energy centers at the bottom of your foot. And then standing through the heels and lifting the toes. Take a few breaths to feel. Notice, spread your toes as wide apart as you can. And now we're going to come into one of my favorite stretches for the back of your calf and your ankle. So I'm going to take this folded up blanket. It can be higher, it can be lower, just depends on how tight you are behind the ankle. And we're going to start with our hands on a surface for support, and put the ball of your foot and your heel, so the heel is on the floor, the ball of the foot and toes are on that blanket, the edge of the blanket, and then feel for kind of leaning into it a bit until there's a stretch coming into the calf. So the taller the lift, the higher the surface that your foot is on, the more intense the stretch will be. So let's just go less is more. Long, deep, smooth breaths through the nose. You want this to feel real good. And then let's switch to our second side. Bring the ball of the foot and the toes up, the toes facing forward, and then bend that knee until you feel a stretch there. If you've ever experienced pain in your heel, you might want to do this more regularly. If you have plantar fasciitis or any kind of inflammation, you may want to explore doing all of these several times a day and see if that helps alleviate some of that discomfort. And you can go back to the first side or explore bringing both of the ball of your foot and toes up onto that, dropping the heels down. So you're doing both legs at the same time. Standing up tall, and or coming forward, bringing your hands down on the chair or your hands on the wall, and kind of exploring how that feels coming up the back of your legs. The knees aren't locked out, so give a slight bend in your knees. 1 or 2 more breaths. And then coming on up, and let's go ahead and stand once again on our feet and just notice being aware of your feet and how it feels from your foundation all the way up. And then let's go ahead and join each other taking a comfortable seat as we give our foot a little more love and a little more TLC. So we've been working with the feet, and now let's go ahead and give them a massage. That's where having the additional props, the ball, maybe a block or a book might come in handy. We'll just set those to the side for now. Go ahead and take one of your legs up onto your knee. And if you prefer sitting on the floor, you can certainly do this whole massage flow sequence from sitting down onto the floor as well. So once you're here, let's go ahead and look at your feet, and with your opposite hand, just kind of run your hand, your thumb I'm using, from the ankle down to the big toe. Kind of follow that. And like I said earlier, the tops of our feet tend to be pretty sensitive, so just be careful that it does feel good. And then go down from the ankle to the second toe. You might need to adjust your position. Some people may find it easier to kind of put your foot up onto something and do it this way instead of over the thigh. And then to the next toe, from the ankle down to that third toe. And then towards the fourth toe, ankle towards the tip of the toe and back up again. And don't forget to breathe. Breathe intentionally and mindfully, so we're kind of carrying that flow with us. And then the pinky side. Any kind of sensitivity that doesn't feel good, adjust how your touching is on your foot. And then let's go ahead and go to the other side of your foot and start at your toes. I like to kind of twiddle my toes between my fingers. I'm going to start with the big toe. And then move to the next toe, from the base of the toe to the tip. And then to the next toe. And over. And then to your last toe. And you can take as much time as you want. I'm just kind of giving you this a fast forward through these toes. And then massage, I like to circle with my thumbs around the ball of my foot, that area that we were going up and down on. And then work your way down into the arch of your foot. Just being mindful of those little tender spaces. And then working your way up towards the heel. And then around the inside of the ankle, back down through the toes. And if you can, try. This is a number. That's all, folks. This is something that takes practice. Can you interlace your fingers between your toes? And this is one of those things that the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And try to bring those fingertips between the toes and then circle your ankle. And if you can't quite get them in there, just feel for how many you can and then just circle the ankle gently all the way around. Both directions. And then unlace your fingers, and let's bring our foot the same side. We're still here. You're going to kind of rock over your toes and then back to your heel. So you got to kind of adjust and play where your foot is placed so you can kind of get into that rocking over the toes and down through the heel. This tends to be a little more gentle than when we were standing. You're not weight bearing as much. And then give it a shake in that leg. Shake it out. And this is where we can use the ball. There's several different ways that you can do this. You could put the ball up on a book and then put the foot on that and just kind of roll it out, or you could put it down on the floor. Taking some long, smooth breaths, sitting up nice and tall as you're rubbing out your foot. Feeling for those little spots that need the extra TLC. And then extending your leg out in front of you, and do some more of those points and flexes and maybe some of the circles. You can go in and out, kind of feeling how that is around the ankle and the calf. And then standing down with your foot and take a feel. What are the sensations now that we've worked and focused on one side? And let's come over to our second foot. So however it's easy for you or easier for you to access the top of your foot, whether your foot is up on the chair or resting up on your thigh, go ahead and adjust your position there. And let's start on the big toe side. From the ankle, stroke down a few times. Go down towards the tip of your big toe. And then to the second toe. And then to the third toe. You could do this with oil too, massage oil or coconut oil. Or some kind of lotion that would feel good. Just got to be mindful when you do stand back up that knowing that you have oil on your feet. To be careful, you can put socks on after, of course. And then towards the pinky toe when you get there. And then turning your foot so that you're able to access the arch of your foot and the ball of your foot. Let's start with the big toe, kind of twiddling that toe, massaging with your thumbs. I've also seen it practice where you make peace fingers and you kind of use the knuckle, depending on how that feels in your hands. And working your way one toe at a time. Massaging in a way that feels really nice for your foot. Into the pinky when you get there. And then across the ball of your foot. There's all these little energy points that correspond to areas in your body and reflexology and the Marma system of Ayurveda. It's always fun to look at those charts to see which and where those points are, to kind of add support. Go into the arch of your foot and up towards your heel. That's where I find the peace fingers with the knuckle works pretty nice on the heel. Just going to circle that around. And to the inner part of your ankle up towards your foot, up towards your toes rather. And then go ahead and bring your foot down, give it a little shake, shake, shake. And we're going to do that rocking over the toes, the heel. Kind of position yourself where you can get into those angles of stretching out the top of your foot. And then stretching out the back of your calf muscle. And maybe some extension, some point and flex here, and some circles. Sit up nice and tall. Relaxed breathing. And then bringing it down and just kind of shake it out again. Let's go over to the option of using a ball on the floor or on a block. Sometimes half the fun is getting that to balance there. And then massaging your foot. Taking lots of time to get into those places that are tender. And then stepping down off of that surface. And let's go ahead and go back to kind of raising the heels one at a time. And then taking one foot, shake it out. And then the other foot, shake it out. Standing down with your feet in front of your knees, taking a few mindful moments just to feel now. What does it feel like down in your feet, your ankles, up to your knees, to your hips? Can you feel how those energy points affect different places inside? Like right now I can feel my hands are really warm. My neck and shoulders actually feel pretty warm and relaxed too. How do you feel? How do you feel in your mind? Do you feel more clear? Do you feel more alert? And just noticing these things, how just a little bit of time, even just doing one or two of these things to tend to your feet and take care of your feet every day will make a big difference. And thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoy your new happy feet, and I hope that is your experience. And if you have any comments, go ahead and leave them in the chat box, and I'll get back to you with any questions that you might have. Thank you so much. Have a good night.